and students and guardians. We're going to update and talk today about our SBAC interim test scores as well as some vital Q3 data, and then talk about some next steps to close out this year as we inch towards end of year testing. So first and foremost, we are going to talk about a reminder of what we're really looking at and improving throughout this year. So we're really working on students are not only achieving at a high level, but they love coming to school every day. And to do that, we're looking at building a positive adult culture on campus. We took several initiatives there, building out cohesive curriculum and improving the instructional level. We're improving the instructional leadership of all principals, coaches, and teacher leaders. And finally, really looking at parents as partners. And that's going to be kind of the process today, is really giving you the vital information as a parent that is needed to help be that vital partner in our process. So right now, we laid a lot of the roots through the beginning of the year, and we know that this is a collective effort. It takes part about all the staff on campus, the teachers on campus, the bus drivers, it takes our Harvest Hall, it takes parents, it takes students, it takes family members. It is a whole tribe effort when it gets to a student being successful. And so when we look at this data, this is really all of our data. We share all of this data as well as our progress and our growth and our acceleration of students. But the roots are there. So what we need to do now is accelerate that growth over the next few weeks as we get towards the end of the year testing. So I want to start real quick by going over our SBAC interim data. Now, the SBAC interim data is there because it allows us to take a look to say, if the SBAC were taken at this time, where would the student most likely fall? Would they be on or above grade level? Would they be slightly below? Or would they be significantly below grade level? That gives us time between now and when students actually take the test that we can close those gaps and work on specific issues that they might have to accelerate that growth so they can end the year at or above grade level as much as possible. Because we know if they end this year at or above grade level, they're going to start next year even stronger. So let's go ahead and take a look first at ELA. And so as we're looking at ELA, we can see here's the trajectory of the Delano campus. One thing I do want to note is you kind of see this general movement upwards, which shows that each year students are building on top of each other. Now, one thing I want you to note here are the colors that we have down here. This green one is really important. So this is last year, 2020 to 2021. Where did students actually score that got at or above grade level? So you can see the percentage of each grade level that got. So here we're looking at, let's look at 6, 7, 8. We've got 38% here are at or above grade level for last year's SBAC. Over here, we've got roughly around 45% in grade 7 were at or above grade level last year. And in grade 8, we had 38% of kids that were at or above grade level. Now, the blue is the SBAC interim. So it's showing where students did on the SBAC interim for getting that on or above grade level. So let's take a look here. We're going to go backwards. So grade 11, last year, 58% of last year's grade 11 were a 3 or 4. This year, on our interim, we are already at 62% of kids are at or above grade level. Now, the goal here is that that number continues to go up as we get towards the end of the school year. So the goal here is that we really want to get up into the high 70s, lower 80s if possible with this number, which means we need about 10 to 15% more in our 11th grade to get to that 3 and 4 mark. And we know that with extra attention from our parents, extra attention from our staff on campus, that we're going to be able to look at that. Grade 8 here, so here we had last year, grade 8 was at 38% of them were at or above grade level. From the interim, we're already at 60%. Look at that big growth there in our current 8th graders. This is a big moment because we know that a large chunk of these grade 8 students in just a couple of months are going to be taking college courses with BC during the summer. And so with that, we believe we can get up into that 70-80% also with our grade 8, which is going to step off in a really strong direction going into the summer and going into next year for them as their high school begins. Next, we have our 7th grade. So right here, we're still hovering around the 44-45%. So we want to get that up closer to about the 60% mark at least by the end of this school year when we take the official SBAC. Then our 6th graders, we outperformed last year's a little bit more. So at this point, we had 38% of last year's 6th graders scored on or above grade level. And according to our SBAC interim, 46% of students of our current grade 6 are scoring at or above grade level. And so again, we're hoping that all of these, when we get to our next official testing, should be up even higher across the board before we finish. But what we're seeing right now is that our students are outperforming in some grade levels their predicted results from looking at the map, because the map gives us that prediction. So now let's take a look at math. If we're taking a look at our math, we do know it is lower, but we've seen some bright spots across the board. So here we're getting that green. We're looking at those green areas across the board. So last year in 6th grade, on or above grade level was roughly around 15 to 16%. 7th grade, we did see an increase, so we're seeing the improvement there. So in 7th grade, we had 27% of last year's 7th graders scoring at or above grade level. And then last year's 8th graders we're currently around that 21% at or above grade level. And our grade 11 math, 32% last year were at or above grade level. Now, overall, this indicates that we have some work to do as a district and definitely in our secondary 6-12 grades to see what we're seeing on the ELA chart within the math charts as well. But what we do see is there are improvements across the board that we're seeing, but we're going to have higher results, and we need to have those higher results over the next few weeks as we get towards end of the year testing. So you're going to see practice materials come along and some other things to help you engage and support your child as they work towards their end of the year math testing that is coming down the pipeline. All right, so let's take a look at some other data points of interest that we talk about. So the first is student attendance. So we can see the attendance across the board. Do note that the lowest is December, which only had a couple of weeks in there as well, and we had additional spikes in December and January. But across the board, looking pretty stable around the 93 to 95% mark. We do want to notice here that as the middle school is currently sitting at the highest average in March at 93%, high school sitting at 91%. So high school students, we need to start getting here more often, getting here on time and staying here so we can really show the rest of the district and be that flagship point where everybody looks to and says that high school is doing everything they can and our students are responding accordingly. Now we also have our chronic absenteeism rate. So this is the students that are out an extended period of time and the percentage of those students. So over here at the middle school, you can see the percentage. We've got 22.4, 22.8, 26% have missed more than 90%, are lower than 90% attendance for the year. And then over here for high school, 35.9, 32.7, 28.8, and 25.6, their overall attendance is lower than 90%. And our goal is that the majority of students are at 90% here or above, because if you're not here, you're missing material, you're missing learning, you're missing opportunities to collaborate with students and staff, you're missing those additional supports. So we know that if you come to school and you stay at school, you're going to achieve more and you're going to grow faster. So this really tells us that the next few weeks, we need to get more of us coming more regularly and staying for that full day across the board. And just as a note, a couple things are going to come up. You're going to start to see home visits coming up for students that are not attending regularly, and we're going to start following our SART and SARB processes, which then moves students in a very official route with families through that process to improve and increase student attendance at school. All right, here's our missing assignments report. So you can see here is that middle school has fewer missing assignments. So you can see here in the red, 8th grade, we have 21% of students are missing 11 or more assignments. Now, you might say 11 is a lot, and it is a lot, because if you're in this bucket, you probably have some grades that fall in the D or the F range. But know that some of these go with students having a lot of assignments in a grade book, right? So they might have 40, 50 more assignments in some of their subjects. So when you're looking at missing assignments, you also want to look to see how many assignments are there overall in that quarter. But that being said, if your student falls into this 0 or 1 to 5 range, they have a much stronger likelihood that they're in the C and above because they've attempted all of their work. And as I tell students, you're going to hear this again, is that the only true failure is in not trying. And right now, these missing assignments are not trying. If you try on everything, you're going to get points. So it's rather to get points for something than 0 points for nothing. And so with that, we want to make sure that we are at least attempting our work and turning it in, rather than just foregoing and getting some of it done. So we can see here, a big focus for us in the spring at the high school is going to be these missing grades. In 11th grade, we have 64% of our 11th graders are missing 11 or more assignments in the grade book. So if you are an 11th grade student or an 11th grade parent, we want to make sure that you're really focusing on reminding your kid to attempt it, turn it in. Attempt it, turn it in. and you're going to see those go up across the board. So let's take a look at D's and F's. So the red are students that are failing 2 or more courses. So right over here at the middle school, we can see that the majority, about 80% to 86% of students, have 0 D's or F's in their grade book. Over here at high school, we can see we're roughly around 54% to 62% have no D's or F's in the grade book. Reminder that especially for high school, but if you're a middle school parent, this is something to pay attention to. If you have a D or F in your high school courses, you do not get the A through G credit for those, which means you have to retake that whole semester and potentially the whole year in order to get the credit for those to be A through G compliant. So to make sure that you're following these and you guys are making sure that, like, hey, listen, yeah, a D is not an F, but a D is also not high enough to be A through G eligible, which gets you to that 4-year opportunity and your scholarship down the road as well. Lastly, just some next steps for parents. One, we're going to start sending weekly communications from administration. You're going to see this 6/12. So you're going to start seeing questions come home that you can talk about over dinner each week. You can talk about it on the weekends. We're also going to start sending practice problems from several of our platforms along as well. You can print them off or pull them up on your device and work through them with your student, and we'll send you the answers as well, so you can do that. We're also going to be launching several incentives for positive testing moves in classes. We're going to be talking about trips, PBIS rewards, other things that students can get for taking those positive right moves. We're also going to be meeting with several students ahead of testing to make sure they understand that this is their attempt to show their growth. This is their chance to show that if they try, if they attempt things, they're going to be rewarded with those outcomes. And that comes back to that reminder that the only true failure is when we are not trying our best, when we are not attempting. And so we want to go back and just reiterate that, and parents, please help that with students as well, that the only true way that you've given up, the only true way that you have ever failed is when you are not trying, when you are not doing your best. Because if you do your best, you are going to grow. If you do your best, you're going to get those points. All right, with that, we're going to start sending out weekly updates and weekly materials throughout the next few weeks as we inch towards the end of the year and our end of the year testing. So middle school and high school families, enjoy the rest of the week, and thank you for tuning in.